afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You all are having a wonderful day. I'm just going to go over a few announcements. We really don't have any announcements. They're actually posted on the agenda. This year, we're doing something different. We need everyone to acknowledge the days that they will be turning in answer documents for ACPs. The expectation is that you give 2 tests a day and that you come to the service center with your answer documents daily. There is a link, and if you can fill that out before leaving today, if you already know your schedule, you just indicate that you will be bringing the answer documents every day. If you have a campus that has more than 8 periods or less than 8 periods, just let us know. Or if you have more and you need to adjust your ACP schedule to test early, we need an email notification, and then we'll give you approval via email. If you have any questions during the meeting, we have those soapbox as a resource, so please feel free to jot any questions down. We do have scheduled periods to answer questions within the PowerPoint, but if you have a pressing question and you don't want to forget it, please go to those soapbox. Test security training modules, you should show them on your campus by November 22nd. You can have the teachers watch them individually. And if you do that on an individual basis, they can get a certificate. Or if you want to do whole group instruction and watch it as a whole campus, make sure to just have a sign-in sheet indicating that you did it on whatever day you designated to watch the training. Right now, let me go over the handouts. So you only have 1 star handout this time. And that is for campuses that wish to make an accommodation request. Those special ones like complex transcribing, extra day, we have printed off the website where you go to fill out the ARF. Every year, you have to resubmit one. So if you had a student that had an ARF approved last year by TEA, it has to be resubmitted each school year. So if you have one that was submitted in years prior, you need to put the approval number. They always come with an approval number. And if you don't know that, just reach out to us and let us know as a courtesy that you will be submitting an additional request form for a student. Then we provided you with the test coordinator manual for ACPs and test administrator manual for ACPs this year. We've also posted the manuals online a little bit earlier than we have in the past. We hope to ship these items out to you soon. Can't remember if we said before Thanksgiving. I think before Thanksgiving. But don't hold me to it. But we do know that you guys need the materials as soon as possible to plan. The additional order form is up actually now. If you already know you're going to need large print materials, you can do that at this time. Right now, Lakidra is going to come up and talk with you about the planner that we made. We hope you like it. Raise your hand so we can see. Hi, how are you? Hi, don't be shy. What campus are you from?
Spence Middle School.
Spence Middle School. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And you? Robert T. Hill. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Anybody else is brand new? You were not here the last time. This is your first test coordinator meeting.
Are you the lead? No, your assistant.
Assistant?
Your assistant.
All right, well, welcome back. So we decided that we wanted to create you a planner. We put
your block calendars and all that. So just so far looking at it, aren't you excited to have this little piece here? So it has your planner for the entire year. On the cover page, the title page, it looks like all the different hats that you wear, because you all wear more than one hat. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. So now you're going to be able to juggle it to be able to keep your things in order. Let's go ahead and open it up. The cover page, on the back of the cover page, there is a quick reference so that you can contact us individually, so you'll know who we are. You have our direct contacts. On the second page are important links: ordering and shipping, test security, test tracking and reporting, systems used for testing, and websites for references. We'll show you the soft links, but just in case you want to type that long URL code in, there you go with that. If you flip over to the next page, on TexasAssessment.com, you can locate a student's testing history. You get a new student enrolled in from outside of Dallas ISD, and you want to know if the student has tested or what's their testing history. There are the steps located here that will tell you how to find that student's testing history through the student portal on TexasAssessment.com. Then you have your calendar. If you flip to November in your calendar, which is the month we're in right now, right? All the months are very, very similar. Notice to the right, under TC reminders, we have reminders for that month that will help keep you on track. Remember to do this, and another, along with the dates and activities that are already filling the little blocks. If you look on November the 4th, what do you see on November the 4th? ACP middle school answer sheets were printed. So that will be a date that you know you may, if you got any new students enrolled after that time, you may have to do a hand bubble for that particular student. And we also give you little quotes at the top of each of your calendar sheets. If you flip past June, yeah, we got a whole year now. You got it early, so you can plan. So if you flip past June, the quality control for STAR materials, it'll tell you what to do for quality control for scorables, as well as quality control for your non-scorables. So those are the next two pages. These sheets will come in handy in the spring for you all. And then the next part is how do you hand grid an answer document. So the first two pages showed you how to use it for PowerSchool and My Data for elementary. And there's a sample elementary document. Then you see middle school, PowerSchool and My Data, and then you see your sample middle school document. And then because you do have Algebra 1, most, I think all of you do, then there's a high school sample as well. How to find it in PowerSchool and My Data doesn't change based on the grade level, but there are certain samples. So please hold on to your planner. Bring it with you to meetings. We will let you know of any updates that may have happened, and we will make those on the soft copies. But please use this as your guide to help keep you organized and ready to go throughout this school year. Oh, we're handing them out. We'll get you one right there. We'll have to sign. What campus are you from? Benjamin. You the lead testimony coordinator? So any questions, comments? Thank you. You're more than welcome. I love her. All right, well now Felicia's going to come and show you. We're going to navigate through the website, so if you would, get your computers out, your laptops, and we're going to bring them to the website.
All right, so we'll go over the website. Thank you for your patience through the transition. We want you to become familiar so that, because it is a little different from the previous website, I think you'll like some things and the way it's set up this year. So the new address is assessment.dallasisd.org. if you want to follow along. And the first thing that we'll get to is your landing page. You will always find important announcements here. This is really going to be critical for you during ACPs, because if there is an item issue or anything like that, they always put it on the announcement, the landing page. And then you'll also find some contact information. All right? The next thing is the assessments. For every assessment that you will administer, there's going to be a page. And most of the pages are arranged so that it's the manuals and then the PowerPoints, because we do the PowerPoints for you to train your staff. So that's one less thing for you to do. You have your resources and any forms that are specific to that administration. So, for example, today you got hard copies of the ACP manual. If you wanted a soft copy to share with your principal or your admin team, you can go on the page and you'll find the soft copies of the ACP manuals, both the test administrator and test coordinator, that you could share with your campus principal, admin, however you need. Or even if you just want to, if you're in the doctor's office or something and you want to just read it. And then your staff training PowerPoint. Here's the secondary staff training PowerPoint. I will say this. We ask that you use the PowerPoints that we create for you. Number one, it's less work for you, but it will always contain the most updated information. And so for every assessment that you're going to give, we will have a PowerPoint for you. So right now, TEA is doing a good job of releasing the manuals very early. So if you were perusing through these pages, you would notice that the TELPAS manuals are already up. STAR Alt is already available. TELPAS Alt is already available. And so our goal is to give you the PowerPoints early. This is way earlier than you got it last year for ACP. We were trying to catch up. So now we're a little bit ahead, and that gives you time to get ahead as well. And so, Lakeisha, you want to open the secondary? Sure. The thing that we ask is that you go in advance, and you will have to do some edits. There's always going to be little notes to the test coordinator to give you helpful hints, so you want to edit those and take those out, take those things into consideration. And then, of course, if you want to change the color, you want to change the mascot, whatever. But the content should stay the same because it's the most updated. We'll talk about test security. Let's show one of the notes. So you'll see those little notes to CTC. And that's going to be for any PowerPoint that we give you guys to train. All right? Yeah. And then all of your resources as far as blueprints for ACP, all of that information can be found on your ACP page. If we were looking at STAR, we'll just take a look at that, for example. You'll see it's arranged very similar so that for consistency purposes, but you'll see that the manuals are already available. So if you want to get a head start, and then typically when something is loaded, you will see a load date that says updated with the date. Any questions about the assessments? All right, so let's look at your coordinator resources. This is actually your page. Well, they're all your pages. But this is information for you. So it has your manual, which is the DCCR. So you'll find the link there. You'll also find any of the PowerPoints we use to train you. And they're always going to be put by month. So the November training for today is already loaded. And then you'll find your CTC resources. A lot of those are the handouts that are in your planner, but these are the individual pages if you ever need them as well. And then any of the CTC forms that you may use for testing, sample forms. Okay. Our next is in the same feature, newsletters. We send you weeklies every Thursday afternoon, and here's a list of the weeklies. So if you're looking for one of those, you can't find the email, they are posted under newsletters. And then the social media and live recordings are the actual recordings of the trainings that we're doing. So the first two are here for you. And then any of those pictures, those fun pictures we had taken at the beginning of the year, those are in this section as well. And then importantly, this is just similar to what you have in your planner. However, instead of having to type the link, it takes you right there to where you need to go. And then test security, all things test security are on that page. So you'll find your EK regs. There's a section about irregularities, including the actual irregularity link, the steps to submit, what the statement should look like, the test security resources and forms. And then any of the PowerPoints that we get from test security will also be placed here. Testing calendar. This is your district-wide testing calendar. We get a lot of calls about, do we have the contact information for different curriculum sources? If you look on your district-wide calendar, I believe it's page 7, it gives you those curriculum contacts. And so that's just a copy of the district-wide calendar you got back in September. And then in the block calendar, that's a single copy of the first semester that's in your plan. And then finally is your contact us page. And can you go back to test security? I'm sorry. One thing I should have pointed out, I know you all are prepared. If you're a new test coordinator in your weekly, we've been telling you that you need to do the 4 modules. So here they are, training modules. And then by November 22nd, and we'll talk about this throughout the PowerPoint, you want to train your staff on the TEA 3 active monitoring modules. So this link takes you directly there. I'm sorry, what was it? November 22nd. Okay. Any questions about that? Yes, ma'am, Felicia.
If your campus crosses over elementary and secondary middle school, is one, can we use one, because is the middle school all encompassing, or we have to go back and forth?
It is not all encompassing, Felicia. You would probably want to pull some of you can use them to combine them. Her question is if you have different levels on your campus, so you would want to combine them. Typically, we try to post both at the same time, so you can edit as needed. Yes, ma'am, because sometimes some things are only specific to elementary and some things are only specific to secondary. Great question. Any other questions?
Okay, we're going into our ACP training now. Again, this is the secondary training for ACPs. Attending this training does not take the place of reading your manuals, so please make sure that you read the manuals and make sure you follow, have your staff to follow all TA district and campus guidelines and procedures, okay? This is the agenda, pretty much as simple. We've already covered announcements. The PowerPoint will be broken up into different sections. We're going to talk about calendar of events for ACP. Then Rita will come back and talk about tech security. Keisha will talk about the components. Felicia and talk about test materials and accommodation. And Charlotte will talk about post-testing and close us out for this afternoon. Calendar of events. It's important these dates are in your planner, but it's also important for you to put these dates on your calendar, your personal calendar, so you'll know what's needed. You are in training this afternoon already. Again, the district pre-coded the answer sheets on November the 4th. I pointed that date out to you earlier in your planner, so that information is good to know in case of new enrollees on your campus, and you want to know if you need to do a handwritten answer document. That's the cutoff date. The projected shipping date of all ACP materials to your campus will be December the 5th. By December the 5th, that is a Thursday, you should have your materials. So in the meantime, you should be doing all your planning up until that point and be ready to go December the 5th. And the last day to train your campus personnel is Wednesday, December the 11th on ACP testing. Should have everybody trained by Wednesday, December the 11th. Questions on the dates? The fall ACP testing dates. Monday, December the 16th is the first day of ACP testing. It's a regular dismissal date. So, see October 25th for weight details on the change. The date was changed, so it is a regular dismissal date. You can administer up to 2 tests per day. If you have more than 8 periods, please contact us so that we can give you approval for starting testing earlier. So, and don't forget to go in and click the link to state when you're delivering your ACP materials. Again, as was stated before previously, you can have someone that's trained to deliver your testing materials for you because it's a stop and drop. I said that right. So Tuesday the 17th, Wednesday and Thursday, they're all early release dates. So the dismissal time, again, refer to the weight for specific dates. For high school, it says 110. And December the 20th is the date that you will get the score results so that the teachers can put them into Power School. Questions about the week of ACP testing? Yes. No, 16th is a regular, oh, you looked at the planner? Yeah, it was printed after the change, so yes. So please correct that on December the 16th in your planner. Thank you for bringing that to the, it's a regular dismissal day. It's not an early release date. Will hand deliver your scorables daily to the service center at 2525 South Irvay Street. Hand deliver them to the service center daily on Irvay Street. No other place but the service center. Someone will be there to collect your testing materials. Results will post to my data on December the 20th. Again, you will have to enter those results in, the teachers will need to enter those results into Power School because they will not post there. Makeup testing will be January 2nd through the 21st. So you're gonna have to make sure that you hold back your materials because we don't expect you to return your non-scorable materials because you need until January because you will need them for makeup testing. So makeup testing is January 2nd through the 21st. So for those students who have those unexcused absences, then that's when the makeup testing window is done for those students. So you will request the box pickup in January. Do not request it in December. Request it in January because after makeup testing, so that we can get all the materials back. There's a lot of preparing for sending off ACP materials for you guys to get them, and then we also get our start materials. It's a lot of going back and forth in the warehouse at that time, so please do not turn in your ACP materials until when? January. Okay, so January, the makeup window is January 7th through the 21st. Any questions about critical timelines after ACP testing? Everybody clear? All right, so the next section, test security. Here comes Serena.
Welcome everybody, and as we mentioned at the last meeting and at every meeting, we will always talk about test security just because we have to talk about it and it's that important. All right, so going back to the 2 different types of testing irregularities, we have the serious ones, and those are the ones that we just generally, it would involve staff cheating, assisting kids either directly or indirectly, meaning giving them answers, telling them to change their answers, changing their answers, discussing secure test content. Nobody's allowed to view the materials, the secure test content. Nobody's allowed to talk about it. And failing to report an irregularity. These are all considered serious. We send information to TEA, letting them know that those types of irregularities have occurred. Procedural irregularities, not as severe, but serious nonetheless, because it also probably will involve invalidating some kids' scores. Things like not testing the right kids with the right test, not counting or losing materials, leaving classrooms where kids unattended, staff being used to test that wasn't trained and didn't sign an oath is considered an irregularity. kids getting too much time or not enough time, kids getting accommodations or not getting their accommodations, getting accommodations if they're not supposed to get them, or getting something, or not giving them the accommodations. And then test administrators using the cell phone during testing, and that pretty much is just the test administrators not actively monitoring. So those are all considered, they're examples of procedural irregularities. There's plenty more. One of the first meetings, we talked about the local district oaths that you and your principal had to sign and send in, and most of you have. If you have not, please scan that and send that in. You also have, we'll find a copy of the test administrator oath on the assessment website. That's the one that your test administrators will sign for ACPs after you have trained them. Do not get our district oaths confused with the state oath. Remember, the state's going to be for STAR and for TELPAS. We're talking about ACP, so be sure you give the test administrators our local district oath. And then remember, you have to keep all your documentation and all your training materials, your oath, seating charts for 5 years. Here's the example of the TC and principal oath that most of you have already taken care of, and you send it to testsecurity@dallasisd.org. And the top was cut off of this one, but it's your test administrator oath. After you have trained them, make sure they sign it and give it back to you, and you keep those on your campus for 5 years. You don't send them to us. You can't have them sign them ahead of time, meaning before the training, and you can't have somebody, maybe you have somebody absent on day of testing that's supposed to be a test administrator, and you can't hand somebody and just say, here, sign the oath, if they haven't been trained. So that's why we suggest you always train everybody so you're prepared to have some substitutes in case somebody's absent. Seating charts, we did tell you that we have updated our seating charts, so if you have classes or sections, 25 or less students, you can use the 2-page seating chart, or if you have more than 25 kids in a class, you use the 3-page seating chart. You must have a seating chart for every day. You cannot just make a copy. Most of the time, it's a lot of the same kids testing, maybe not so much for ACP, it just kind of depends on how you have it set up. You can't just make a copy of the seating chart for every day, because some of those kids might not be there. So a new seating chart needs to be made every day. These are all the required elements. These were also listed in a larger font in one of the last PowerPoints, so you can go back and look at all of those things. Make sure it includes a diagram. There has to be a picture of where the kids were seated. And if you submit a seating chart that's incomplete, that's considered an irregularity. So have somebody in your staff looking at those seating charts when your test administrators turn them in so that you have complete information in case we need to ask you for copies of those. We will not be collecting seating charts for ACPs. We only collect them in the spring or the start. Some reminders, ACPs are secure tests. Remember, teachers can't test their own content. So switch language arts with math and science with social studies, or however you want to do it. No cell phones are allowed for staff or students during testing. They must be collected. You don't have to collect the staff phones, but they are not allowed to use them unless it's an emergency. Can't use them to tell time. If kids are given the wrong test, please call the assessment department immediately, so there may be a chance that that can be fixed and the kid can take the correct test. If you wait till after the fact, there's a good chance they're not going to be able to retest with the correct test. The test administrator is supposed to check the answer document when the kid has finished to make sure that all the bubbles have been marked. If they don't do it and they bring you the blank answer document, that isn't a procedural irregularity. And then please call the assessment department, because there's a good chance that we will tell you, look in the booklet and transcribe the answers on the answer document. Don't do it on your own. Don't look in the booklet first and see if they're there. Call the assessment department. And we will not be scanning any answer documents for kids who cheat or kids who are absent. So it's a little bit different from STAR. There's nothing to bubble. If a kid is cheating, you just keep that answer document someplace secure in your file, put your notes on it that the kid was cheating, and that's why there's no score. Or if the kid was absent, you're going to possibly keep it in case they do a makeup. You're materials control form, so it's a document where you write how many booklets you handed out to each test administrator and the range of booklets. So they check them out in the morning, they count, they initial, I took 20 books, and then in the afternoon, they bring them back, you count, and you initial, 20 books came back. Materials are checked out daily, out in the morning, and back in the afternoon. They don't get the whole week at one time. The teachers that complete the surveys are the teachers of record only. Instructional coaches cannot complete the survey, meaning they look at the booklet, look at the questions, and give feedback on that. These these teacher surveys should be done in a supervised setting. You should have a sign-in sheet. You should be watching, or your assistant, or somebody should be watching the teachers. They're not allowed to take pictures of the questions. They're not allowed to take notes. They're just supposed to review and then give feedback if they want to. Be sure you complete your training by December 11th for ACP testing. Make sure that before everybody leaves, they sign in. Again, we always ask you to sign in on the computer so we have record that you were here. You need to have record of who was at your training. They'll sign the oath for test administrators before they leave. And during training, you will share your testing plan for ACP week. What are your procedures? And you'll also be sure to talk about test security. If you have an irregularity, the first thing you do is determine is it serious or procedural, and then you call the correct office to see what you need to do next. Be sure your principal always knows about all the irregularities that take place because the ED is going to ask them, how's it going? You will collect typed signed statements from everybody involved, and please remember that test coordinators always have to write a statement summarizing everything that's happened. We suggest you create a file, for instance, Fall ACP 2019, so all your statements can go in there. You'll go online to the TISB link and submit your irregularity, and be sure that you attach statements to the irregularity on the online form. Questions? Yes?
So, Rita, I have a question. So I have 6 subs in the building that have TIs. Do I switch them in the staging classroom?
You have 6 permanent subs?
I mean, I guess they're long-term subs.
They're long-term subs,
Right, they've been there for 6 splits.
and you're asking if you should switch them.
Right. They don't have TIs, TI scores.
So we're saying that's fine.
Same grade,
Still switch them? Still switch?
Switch them.
Yes. There was another hand?
I have 2. One is you talked about the seating charts and you talked about not copying. But what if you copy, if you have the same group of kids, you're going to test if you put the ID number and all that, but you don't put the book number. If that kid is absent on a certain day, you just mark absent by that kid's name.
You are correct. If you make copies, because it's the same group of kids that's testing, possibly, but that's not what we're finding. People are using, just copying the same one from the first test is what they're doing. So yes, if you want to have the same group of kids, but this time they're taking math and this time they're taking something else, then you would mark absent if they're absent.
The second question is if you have teachers that we don't have enough staff members to have everybody that's going to be testing. So, for instance, if you're a math teacher and you're a 4th grade math teacher, I may have to have you test 7th grade math because I don't have enough staff. So that would still be the content. So how's that work?
What grade levels do you have at your school?
2 to 8,
What campus?
JP start.
So you're a pre-K 8? Okay. So she's a combination school. We say for secondary, they don't test their own content. For elementary, you don't test your own grade level. I would be careful having a 4th grade math teacher or 7th grade testing the same subject. We've had a lot of investigations. It's the same content, so they're tempted. They know a lot of the curriculum. They can assist kids. I understand that you don't have enough staff, so can you take your language arts teachers and let them test math? And then your math teachers, it doesn't matter what grade at that point. Your math teachers test language arts, those kinds of things.
Will there all be not enough. So just say I have two,
Are you talking about ACPs or are you talking about STAR?
no, somebody.
I'll work with her. I worked with Cindy Lanier. We'll just work with you individually.
Other questions about test security?
All right, hello, everybody. Okay, we're gonna get into the components of the ACPs, and this is mostly gonna be taken from your test coordinator manual. We did print one of these. We are gonna mostly summarize it, but again, you're not off the hook. We are expecting you to go through everything, and these meetings run long, so we're not gonna read page by page for you. You are going to also get a test administrator manual. These will be shipped to your schools, and this will be one for all of the teachers. These are both also posted right now on our website, so you can feel free to download some copies or get your staff adjunct on reading these. Okay, I forgot, I saw two people. Who did we say are brand new that did not come to any other testing meeting? Brand new test meeting? Just no need? All right. Okay, so the testing window has not changed. It's going to be on the 16th through the 19th, okay? And this is going to serve as your semester final exam. So for sixth grade, for middle school rather, 6th through 8th grade, it's going to count 10% of the final exam. And is there anybody from high school here? Ninth and up? Okay, from high school, all right. We do not have modified versions of the ACPs, so there are no off-level tests. They have to take it as is. And ACTs are based on your course enrollment. So there could be some specialty classes that we're offering now with the different kind of schools we have, but ACPs are mostly going to cover your core classes. Okay. With the design of the test, it's still 90 minutes. Okay. If your students have approval for accommodations, they could have extra time, but again, this is going to be a 90-minute test. On these days, you cannot have review sessions. So the first day is going to be a full dismissal day, and for the last part of that day, for example, wherever they end up, they cannot do backup reviews to kind of help them for a test that hasn't happened yet. So nothing's changed there. And we're doing a maximum of 2 tests per day. So once you complete your campus testing schedules, if you haven't already, don't have your planning so tight that there's not time to get the tests checked out, not time for kids to find the right places they're supposed to go, sharpen pencils, get seated, and get started. So the 90 minutes is going to start after the script is read. So we certainly want to be adherent to that and have enough time. Okay, the design again did not change. ACPs are going to be multiple choice. However, for middle school, on some of the math tests, there are going to be some pre-response questions, and that means they'll do the calculation, and they have to physically write what the answer is in some boxes on the answer sheet, and that'll be a different section. So we have the blueprints, and your teachers will already know right now how many questions are going to be. So for test monitoring, make sure your kids are not overlooking that and filling in those 2 or 3 questions, because those points can make a difference between another grade. ACPs are consumable, so you will get 1 printed for every student, and we're going to get these to you a lot earlier, so if you are running short, we will have our additional ordering system up where you can get extra tests. Okay. Also, this will be the time to start ordering large print. Okay, we do large print tests on demand. Okay, we don't print those and just wait for you to ask for them. And then here, we did have some online testing with common assessments we did for the first time, but we are not going to have online testing this school year for ACPs. So for the fall and also the upcoming spring, ACPs are going to be paper pencil tests that we are going to scan. So there's not going to be a component online at all for ACPs. We got a good bit of some back and forth questions on that. And the last point on here, you are going to get some orange scannable teacher surveys. These only go to the teacher of record. So what we expect for you to do, as was mentioned, is to have a set aside time. Usually an hour is enough time. The teachers will be checked out a clean test. They'll get their orange survey and just a pencil or a pen, and that's it. No phones. They can't bring any other data sheets to kind of track their progress or whatever. And And again, remember, this is optional, so if the teachers don't choose to do it, that's fine. If you only have 2 or 3, that's fine. But again, they are still under oath, so there's no discussion about this viewing period, and the purpose of it, again, is for them to see the test if they're interested in it, and most importantly, to give test development feedback about it. So they'll get questions, was this too long, too short, too hard, and they'll have some open-ended stuff where they can give them some feedback as well, all right? We ask you to do this at your own discretion. You know it's very busy, and some of you might have extra support that some don't. So it's great if you can arrange this before you're dismissed for winter break, but we do expect you to do this before the tests have to be shipped back in January. Okay, so it's at your discretion, but you'll have to figure out when that best time is. Okay, we do have a general script, so that is in your manual. That's also in the test administrator manual, and we have always printed that out separately for those test administrators who like to walk around and don't want to hold as much paper. So the script hasn't changed that much. We did rearrange a few things, so definitely read through it. And we expect that it shouldn't take longer than about 4 to 6 minutes with ask and answer response time from the kids, but we don't want them to ramble through it. We don't want them to rush through it. And usually with some of the gross errors, a lot of them can point back to these scripts not being read verbatim. So they just need to do it as is, as written, and that usually works out. The kids after that will work with independently unless they have approved test accommodations, and we'll probably have small groups and different test administrators trained to do that. And again, these are 90-minute tests, just an hour and a half, so there is not going to be a split. So on your full day or however other days you're going to do it, they take it in one run, and then maybe you'll have a passing period, but there's not we're going to test for 30 minutes, then for an hour. So no change with that. And again, with those kids that you've already done the designated supports for, you know that you want to make sure they get their appropriate accommodations. Okay, so for the results, we are going to send you, and this is only going to go to the lead test coordinators. We'll be burning the midnight oil on the 19th. So that's the kids' last day. The 20th is still a work day for staff. An email that's going to have 2 things. We'll have score reports, and these are going to be a PDF. It'll be a roster of all your teacher level classes and all the kids in there and what their grades are. Okay, so that's going to be on the 20th. The teachers are going to have to manually, the teachers of record, they're going to have to enter these scores by hand. So unfortunately, we had a lot of wish lists for Power School, and uploading the test scores electronically did not work out with the developers, so we'll see what we can do hopefully next year. We're expecting this to be done on the 20th, and this will make the cut date for report cards, okay? So we know that you have your Christmas parties and all that, but again, that is a work day. We suggest you do that right out of the gate and not let anybody turn that corner too early without getting this in. Now, you're also going to get an exceptions report. So your second attachment, open those up. If everything scanned okay and you did not have any errors, it'll tell you that. Otherwise, if you had a class section that may have had a header problem and something was wrong and we didn't get a printout for it, you'll probably have to call us and we'll work with you and make sure everything was okay. All right. And lastly, we're depending on your teachers to make sure that all of their students got a test score, okay? Because if something was wrong, mostly you can have a standoff, and it's a really short window if you're missing an answer sheet. 9 times out of 10, the kid didn't test, they were absent, or was possibly folded up inside a book and somebody missed it. But we do have a very, very short window of recovery for lost answer sheets. And we certainly need everybody who did the work to get their grades. Oh, and worst case scenario, if you know somebody who still can't find it, we do have a correction form in the back of your test coordinator manual. We do have a copy of what all of our forms look like and what you're going to do. Okay, this is only for high school, but we have this here because y'all keep asking about it. But we do have a vacancy report, and it's mostly for graduation. So for middle schools that do have vacancies, but we did not have a certified teacher in some classes, school leadership is aware of that, but again, they're only extending this to high school. Okay, so do we have any questions up to that point? Ms. Jones?
Okay, let's talk about your test material. We're almost there, promise. So the first thing we're going to talk about is your headers. Every section that you are submitting must have a header in order for it to be scanned correctly. Remember, the header actually dictates the scoring, and so you use only one header for each section. If the section, however, has two different section numbers, make sure you're placing those correct student answer documents behind the correct header. Because again, the header dictates the scanning, and so if an incorrect header is used, it's not going to scan correctly. This is what your pre-coded teacher headers look like. And so for those of you who may not have done ACPs in the past, this is where each pre-code has a little box in the top corner. You probably can see it better in your manual. That's going to tell you the course and the section number and the teacher information. Again, that's the thing. This is the header part that you want to make sure matches those student answer documents that you are placing behind it so that they can be scored appropriately. And these are blank teacher headers. If for some reason you don't have a teacher header or you need a teacher header, you would complete a blank teacher header. And I will tell you, if your bubble, you will have them bubble their name, first and last name, employee ID. If it's a 5-digit employee ID, they have to put that preceding 0. And then all of the additional information here would need to be completed. And since it's a blank teacher header, you want to also write the information just in case there's a discrepancy. So for this one, it's sign 7, first period, Miss Dell, room 114. And in the high school meeting, someone asked about makeups. And so the suggestion that we would give to you, Charlotte, I did it, I know I did it, I'm sure the other ladies did this as well. During training, I had every teacher complete an extra teacher header, a blank teacher header. That way, when I was doing those makeups, I had a header, because I will tell you that is I just look at your veterans shaking their head. That can take you a lot of time trying to complete all of those blank headers for your makeup period in January. Yes?
I just want some clarification. So with those courses that have sub-pops in them, last year they had multiple headers for that one class. You're saying we still have to separate those out?
They should go under the correct header. So for example, when I taught ELA, I had 3 headers sometimes. I had some for, like, I may have had my EL babies in it. So that course may have been a 1000 section 01, and this one was a 9745, but it was still in that section. You just need to make sure they're going behind the correct header. And help me if I'm not understanding your question.
So in other words, you're going to put the sub-pops, all different headers for each sub-pop in that one class. So in other words, one class, like first period, first period ELA could have 3 headers.
Correct.
No, it's one class.
Correct. Yes. And so they need, that's why I said it's important to make sure that they're putting them behind the correct header. So when you're training your teachers, that's something, especially in EL, I know for sure, because that's what I taught. So that would be one that would have multiple headers. Are you all understanding his question? No?
I'm a no, but.
You're a no? So some of your sections may have multiple headers based on the course number. And you just want to make sure that those student answer documents, and I can talk to you offline if you need a little more explanation, but you just want to make sure those student answer documents go beneath the correct header. Remember, it should match your student answer documents. This part should match what's on that teacher header. The course and section, yes. Renee?
So for this particular document here, is that okay to copy, photocopy?
No, thank you, great question. You cannot photocopy these documents. You need an actual header. So you need the actual material. If you need extra blank headers, extra blank teacher headers, you need those, but you cannot photocopy anything. Thank you for I meant to bring it up earlier. Yes.
And then next, when y'all send the materials and send the answer docs, are those going to be sent by alpha or by periods?
In the past, they were by period, and I don't think that has changed. Yeah, they come by period and alpha. And so, let's talk about the student answer sheets. So for middle school, your answer sheets are maroon. If we have any high schools in here, I don't think we do, but they are blue. And so again, you would pass out the correct answer sheets to the correct students based on the course. Remind your teachers, only number 2 pencils can be used. Every year we get either a teacher header or a student document that's done in pen. The machine doesn't read pen. So just remind them only number 2 pencils. Check that students bubble their answers on their answer sheets. Student oaths are printed on the answer sheets. However, remember students may still test even if they don't sign the oath. And so let's look at the student answer sheets. This is what your pre-coded student answer sheets will look like. Again, notice they have that same little box that the teacher header had to help match the header with the student answer documents. And so the only thing is, this contains the student information, only the student ID is machine bubbled. They don't need to do this, guys. They don't need to write and bubble this because this is the information here. It's just like with STAR. Now, if you get a new student because the pre-code upload for ACPs was December 4th. So, November 4th. Listen, I'm just trying to get out. Okay. So if it, after November 4th, any new students that you have gotten since then, they will not have a pre-code answer document, and so you will need to do a hand bubble. And so for your blank answer sheet, you only need the following 3 things: last name, first name, and student ID. That's the information that's required for scanning on your blank answer documents. And again, on both your pre-code and your blank answer documents, students will fill out the test code year and form during the test administrator script. So it is important to stress to your test coordinators, a lot of the irregularities can be avoided by reading the script verbatim. I always could tell when someone didn't read the script verbatim because none of the class would have that. So, again, all of the students should fill out the test code year and form during the test administrator script. Each of your booklets by content are a different color. I will tell you now, all of the books are consumable. They come in bundles of 25. So you may have bundle 25, 4301 to 4325, and then your next bundle could be bundle 26, 26, 43, 26 through 50. But it's going to be 20 bundles of 25, and because they are consumable, that means that the students can write in them. They can write, they can highlight, whatever they need to do. The tests are non-scorable because they were not scanned. And for you, when you get your books, you will get a packaging slip. If I'm correct, unless things have changed, your packaging slip, each page matches the color of the book. And so when I get my science, it may be a light green page, and all of the science booklets that I should have received are on that page. When you get your material, you need to inventory ASAP and make sure that what we say is on that packaging slip is what you've received. Because if not, you want to email us as well as Jorge to let him know that you're missing something. Don't wait until the end, because then it becomes a question of not whether it was received, but whether it was lost. So you want to do that in the beginning of your testing period, as soon as you get your material. All right, let's talk about your pre-AP books. This one is very common when it comes to irregularities. The pre-AP class is given to the regular class is given the pre-AP test. Train your teachers. If you use our training PowerPoint, we've got a slide in here about this. But again, reading the script verbatim, there are steps that are specifically put in the script to help the students to ensure that they're getting the right test. So you want to look for the thick border. That means it's pre-AP. If it doesn't have the thick border, then it is a regular class. And so you may take it a step further. I know when I was doing it, because it always got mixed up, I would put a big stop sign on it, stop, pre-AP. So when the test administrator got to that bundle, they would know these books are pre-AP. So you may try to think of what extra step you can put. The border should help, but again, you're looking at the same color, and so you just want to make sure to put as many precautions in it as you can. Some of your tested subjects will have supplemental material that needs to go with them. They may have extra admin manuals, audio CDs, or image cards. These materials are also secure and should be returned with your non-scorables. Make sure, if you know that you have any of these subjects, make sure you get the material you need when you are doing your inventory. If not, you need to order it ASAP. All right, let's talk about accommodations. For ACPs, there are accessibility features as well as some of the designated supports that are available to be used during the ACP test. Remember, it is the same as STAR. I know your teachers have been entering the information in my data, but again, the criteria should not change. They must meet all of the actual documented accommodations that are required. So for ACPs, let me go back. So there's some accessibility features that are available. Actually, most of the accessibilities are available. And if you look in your manual, it gives you a detail. But I wanted to point out to you that not all of the designated supports are available. For example, content and language supports. Why is that not available for ACPs?
For online only.
It is for online only. Another one that I remember offhand is manipulating test material. So make sure your teachers understand, and that information, again, is on that training PowerPoint. It tells them which ones aren't available. But make sure they understand that not all of the accommodations that they use for STAR are available for ACP. Speaking of oral administration, you always want to make sure they understand what they are supposed to, what they can and cannot read for oral administration. And so if you, page 8 in the TC manual talks to you about oral administration as well as what can and cannot be read. One thing that is different for ACPs is that the revising and editing passages cannot be read for ACPs. They are not separated like STAR, not yet. So make sure your teachers understand that, because if they gave STAR last year, that's something different for them when they get to ACPs. And then extra time is a max of 2 hours and 15 minutes because it's time and a half. The EL testing policy, this is one of the forms that's found in the back of your manual as well as the back of the test administrator manual. It comes from the EL department, and it gives your teachers, your LPAC guidance on exempting students. We get a lot of questions about that. And basically, it just tells them that the LPAC can exempt new immigrant students who have been enrolled in U.S. schools less than 6 weeks from district ACPs, but must administer a teacher-made assessment for the English 1 ESOL and middle school ESL language arts courses. There are beginner and intermediate district assessments available as long as the students are in those courses that show that they should receive an ACP. So that's when you could do the course test lookup, or you could go on, I think in the manual there's a lot of pages. They tell you which ACPs are tested. And then for electives, math, science, and social studies, LPAC may exempt new immigrant students who have been in the country less than 12 months from district ACPs. Campuses must administer a teacher-made assessment to all exempt students. However, LPAC may exempt qualifying unschooled asylee refugees who have been in the country less than 12 months from district ACPs. Campuses are not required to administer a teacher-made assessment to a qualifying unschooled asylee refugee. That's the key, unschooled asylee refugee. And again, the full policy is in the form section of both the TC manual as well as the test administrator manual. Charlotte, come take us home.
I have a question concerning accommodations if I can ask.
You can.
Okay, so I have a situation. I know ELs are allowed designated support, extra time. So I have a situation where I have a student who's in EL, but also has a 504. But 504, on their 504 plan, they are not, their accommodation is not extra time. But she's in EL, and the teacher wants to give this student extra time.
Did the LPAC sit in on the 504 meeting?
This is the thing. So I spoke with Erin, and even Charlotte, she sent me an email about scheduling another meeting. The thing is that ELs are allowed extra time.
If they meet the criteria, which is regular
Right.
routinely used in class.
It is regular routine is used in class. She uses extra time already. But, so she is eligible for it. But she just so happens to have a 504 that she is not, that extra time is not one of her accommodations.
So you have to, so that another meeting.
So she would still have to have another meeting.
So did the LPAC have a meeting to give the 504?
That's what I said. That's what.
So the LPAC has to have a meeting, not the 504 committee.
They're supposed to work together. They're supposed to work together. It would just be like if you had a SPED student that was also EL. The LPAC should sit in on that,
But a regular EL student gets that the teacher allows them to have extra time in class, it's just automatically allowed that.
Well, not automatically, nothing is
I mean, not
automatic.
automatically, but if it's something that you give in class, usually, you can give them extra time undesignated without a
If they meet all of them, and I don't have the policy document, and anybody who's worked with me or asked me a question knows that I never answered without that policy document in front of me to make sure from top to bottom everything is okay. And so, if you want to, we can look at it afterwards to see.
Can I say one thing?
You can, and then I'll have a question.
Oh, I didn't see.
No, go ahead. Robert's rules of order. I don't know who's
I apologize. I just wanted to piggyback on her question before you answer your question. So just remember, just because a student gets certain instructional strategies and things in class doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get it on the assessment. So keep that in mind. Sometimes, even though extra time is a designated support, but if the committee has not decided that the student needs that on the assessment, then that means the student doesn't get it on assessment. They're just giving them an instructional strategy in the classroom. That's just food for thought. I wanted to add to that.
The LPAC still has to have a meeting and decide that the EL gets the extra time. It's just not, oh, you're an EL, you get extra time. That's still an LPAC decision.
Decisions have to be made in a committee like that.
Since in the case of an EL with a disability, the decision is made by the applicable group above in conjunction with the LPAC. The decision is to be documented by the LPAC in the student's permanent record file and by the applicable group. So it needs to have a meeting in both.
Just have a joint meeting.
Yeah, so like we keep I just carry this like it's a purse.
I don't know, my purse is upstairs.
Question about the oral administration for revising and editing passages. So you're saying that if the answer answer choices can be raised for revising and editing. It's not clear. In the past, the writing, on the writing questions, passages, or questions and answers to this question and answers.
They're not separated. On the ACP.
No, she's saying, yeah. Go ahead.
On the ACP test, remember, it's not like STAR, they're not separated, so you don't know which is revising and which is editing. So therefore, you can't use that same accommodation that you would normally do on STAR.
Right, but the old, like, so before STAR went to allowing it used to be you couldn't read any revising. And
Correct.
More questions than answers.
Right,
So
right.
And that's the
is
case
that
for
the
ACP.
procedure so that's what I'm saying, the questions for the revising, so they read all the questions.
Not for writing.
Not for the revising and editing.
Not for the revising and
Not the
editing.
questions and answers.
No, because you don't know which one is the revising and editing. It says what cannot be read on that third column.
And just revising, editing passages.
Oh, you mean like that part is confusing, saying the word passages instead of just the
But reading
question.
passages can't be read aloud and reading.
No. No, she's saying the word passages on revising and editing instead of just saying revising and editing, period. So we'll correct that. Thank you for bringing that to our
So
attention.
they can't read the questions and answers for revising and editing.
Because you don't know which one is revising and which one is editing. Right.
So it's the old policy.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. That is a little confusing.
I'm confused.
Guys, okay. You should be able to read the questions.
We're reading the question and the answer choice.
On a reading test.
Reading.
It's not separated. You don't know. It's not
So they
separated.
only get the ELA test.
Yeah. It's not separated. So you do read the questions and answers.
But you can't read
You cannot read the passages.
Right.
Period.
But you can read the question
You
and
can read the
answer
questions
choice.
and answers.
No, we go to the main.
The writing, right, is not a reading.
Because it says
It's
that.
just ELA, it's not a reading
Or
test.
for seventh grade.
It's not a reading test at all.
It combines them so you would never know.
It includes reading stars.
Stars.
And writing in it.
I mean,
Everybody.
just combine stars.
But yeah, it's only one test. It's not separate.
Right.
And so it says,
So if my question is can I substitute word such and such for such and such, you're going to read that question to that student and the answer choices. If there's a passage that happens to go with revising and editing, then you don't read that. But if you read the question, you do read it.
So
Let us get back to y'all on that, so we can get clear, because I think what's happening,
in oral administration, you can clearly tell a revising and editing.
I can't hear Nicole.
When whoever's giving, in the past, whoever's giving oral administration, you clearly tell the difference between reading passages and questions and revising and editing passages. Because there's no revising and editing passages.
Right, that's how it is.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's how it's
It's just not clear.
Right, it's not showing that part. So that's why, so let us get back to you all and make sure that we're processing and understanding what you're asking, and then we'll put out something to clarify the little chart to make, because I think what's confusing is the little chart is confusing. And so we'll have to get back to y'all on that. So if y'all would, let us do that. We're ready with that. It's just
we can give the test spelling, let's put it in the week.
making sure that we're, right. Is there a question on this same thing? Or you have a different one?
I guess I'm curious because I remember in the last meeting and I'm looking at the accommodations for 2020 and it says this year, I remember you saying that the revising classes is read for STAR class, right? So it can't be for STAR. And also,
No, remember ACP is different. The ACP has not gotten to, our test has not gotten to the point where we're able to know what the revising pass, the difference in the setup, the way the state has done with the STAR. So we're behind, and when we get there to create our test that way, then we'll be there, but right now we're not.
Because remember that this went into effect in January of 19, and so we just got the release test, August, something like that. And so they haven't had a chance to, and I'm saying the writers and testimony and everything, to actually see what that looks like. So for this one, it's not aligned in that aspect.
But great questions, thank y'all.
Okay, closing out. Quality control, or preparing for quality control. You should have the test administrators check in their materials daily. You should have a sign in and sign out sheet where they initial returning all the materials that you distributed out to them. Make sure that the test booklet and answer sheets are separate. Find some way to organize your materials. I used to have like a red folder for all the students that were absent. To have some system to where you are knowing which kids you're submitting answer documents for and which kids will need a makeup. Students that are absent, please do not turn in their answer sheets when you come to drop the answer sheets off daily. Remember that staff cannot touch the answer documents, so once the student finishes, they need to check around and make sure that there are no stray marks on the barcodes of the answer documents. There is a possibility that there will be multiple course numbers for one class. So like your LEP students, sheltered students could be under one course number. Your SPED students could be under another course number. Then you have your general ed. So make sure that those headers and the answer documents match. You can't just use one header for all your special groups in the class. Each group of students should be identified and separated by the correct header. Make sure you also train your testing coordinators, so like physically show them how the headers are different, and so they can understand, because they just assume that they're all the same. That is not the case. And you're going to drop off your answer sheets again daily. We do have a number of testing coordinators who have gone on and captured that they acknowledge the fact that they have to turn their answer sheets in daily. Remember, you need to do that by the 22nd, and the link is on our website and on the agenda. Quality control, you have to submit your answer sheets daily. If you are running late, there is a number you will call. You will call the 925-8940 number first, 972-925-8940. Please call that number first if you're running late. That's the TC support number, and it's a stop and drop. We also are asking that you set up a time so the teachers can review the ACP booklets and complete the survey. You're going to submit those survey responses in with your scannable answer documents. If you have a large number of answer documents, you'll place them in a box. If not, you can place them in an envelope. But please do not mix old ETS boxes or Pearson boxes with your ACP materials. Makeup testing will take place January 9th through the 21st. And you should have blank headers for those teachers to fill out for any student that is completing a makeup test. Remember that those students must be provided the same opportunity to have the same accommodations that they would have had during the final exam period. Students that have excused absences and did not complete the makeup between January 9th through the 21st, there is a link on our website that you're going to complete, and Leticia will come out and provide a tester to come to your campus to test the students who were with only excused absences after January 22nd. Once we have the makeup scans, we will email the lead testing coordinator the results,
And it's the responsibility of the campus to have the registrar capture that information into the student data management system. You're going to return all of your non-scorables. You can keep your test manuals. You'll use the same manual in the spring. And if we have an addendum to the manual, we'll let you know. But as of right now, this is the same manual that we'll use for spring ACPs. And you're going to request a box pickup during the week of January 17th. We'll email you that information out closer to the deadline. There, you will have to submit a delivery ticket when you mail back your materials, and that is in your manual forms 10 and 11. Any questions? So again, your action item for this meeting is to just acknowledge that you are submitting your action sheets daily for ACPs, and you're gonna hopefully receive your ACP materials the first week of December. And if you know already that you are going to need to order large print materials, you can do so at this time, but nothing other than large print should be ordered right now until you receive the rest of your materials. If nothing else, you guys can have a wonderful afternoon.